Okay, so I consider this a follow-up to the last snowbird video I posted, and it's looking like more signs of trouble ahead for Florida's upcoming snowbird season. So yeah, if you were worried before, you definitely want to stick around for this one. I also came across an article showing how tourism revenue has dropped in one of Florida's counties. Didn't Ron DeSantis say that things would be fine, and that tourists would pay their taxes? Well, it turns out, not so much. And later, I have a short clip of someone talking about how they've been starting to see more and more US tourism ads lately. Are you starting to see more of these too? Because if you are, it shows that they're getting desperate. Today's backdrop comes from Brett. He sent this shot from Emma Lake in Saskatchewan of the Northern Lights. Absolutely stunning. I haven't seen these kind of colors in person. He sent a few other photos too, so I'll feature them in upcoming videos as well. Thanks, Brett. And before I start, I finally got the chance to speak to Klaus Kellerman. And just like I did for him, he congratulated me on my 100K milestone. It's great to be in contact with more Canadian content creators. He did mention that he's going to start the Boycott USA Cars campaign, and I told him I'm fully on board with it to help promote on my channel. I've never owned an American car before, ever since I started driving back in the 90s. The cars I've always purchased or leased have always been Japanese or German, and I don't ever see myself owning an American car. So if you don't follow Klaus Kellerman, I left a link to his video discussing the Boycott USA Cars campaign in the description below. Go give him a subscribe and check out his videos when you get a chance, and tell him Guard the Leaf sent you. Alright, let's get into the first clip.
For decades, Canadians have made their way south of the border to escape the cold Canadian winter, but now some snowbirds are reconsidering their yearly trek stateside. New data shows places like Arizona and Florida are seeing fewer Canadians than previous years. And according to a new Royal LePage survey, 54% of Canadians who own residential property in the U.S. are considering selling within the next 12 months. Alexandra DuPont is a Florida realtor who deals with cross-border markets. She's our guest this morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Listen, in regard to our Canadian snowbirds, what trends are you seeing down in Florida with the real estate market?
Yeah, so right now this year, a lot has been happening, but I think right now it's still a little early to see what's going to happen because typically your regular snowbird comes here at the end of November. So it's right around the corner, but we'll have to see. Are Canadians truly going to come back at the end of November, December, and get ready for the next high season that's right around the corner?
Here's my prediction, and I think a lot of you will probably agree with me. We're still seeing some snowbirds head south for the winter. Because of whatever reason, that's really up to them. And like I said in my previous video, they can go, but if anything happens, it's on them. But from what I've seen in the comments just from my channel alone, there are a lot of people who are saying that they sold their place. Their parents sold, their coworkers sold, and their friends sold. Quite a few have also emailed me saying that they're done with Florida, and they're done with the US altogether. So yeah, we already know that there's quite a good number just from my own channel here. And that doesn't even count the thousands of other former Florida snowbirds who have either sold their homes or decided not to rent the property they usually do. And it's not just Canadians either. I had viewers from Europe and even parts of Australia mention that they sold too. Now this real estate agent is based in Florida, so keep in mind, I'm sure she's got a little bit of bias. I'm sure she's going to make it sound like Florida is still going to be okay this season.
Well, here's sort of a precursor to that. 62% of Canadians cite concerns with the current U.S. administration as the primary motivation for their decision to either not travel to the U.S. or to not buy south of the border. So for your clients in Florida who are looking to sell, I guess curious, what are the reasons for them wanting to sell or them leaving? Your Canadian clients looking to sell?
Yeah, so it's definitely been a magnitude of different reasons. This year in 2025, of course, politics play a big role into this. But not just that, the fact that taxes are going up, insurance, condo fees, the exchange rate is not helping, of course. And also your typical standard reasons, such as the wars and illnesses that we've had throughout the years. But this year, there's been a lot of focus on politics.
Yeah, we were just having a conversation. 70 cents on the dollar is where we're sitting right now.
Come on, CTV. You've got to stop using the exchange rate as an excuse. About a year ago, the dollar was sitting around 72 cents. Right now, it's about 71.5. Not much of a difference. And if you take a look at my TradingView chart, you'll see the dollar actually dropped into the 60s once snowbird season started last year. Yet, people still went south and spent their money like nothing changed. Right now, the dollar shows that we're not far off from last year. And if it stays around this range, it could actually be better than last year's exchange rate. So if we see fewer snowbirds this year, you can't say it's because of the dollar, because last year it dropped down below 68 cents, and they still went. Now sure, there's a lot of other factors in Florida. Insurance, cost of living going up, groceries going up. Yeah, all of that, I'm not discounting it. But despite that, Canadians are still heading down south right now. Even though we don't agree with it, they are still going south. Let me know in the comments, do you hate hearing the exchange rate excuse as much as I do? And if you do, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.
32% of Canadians who have recently sold or who are planning to sell their U.S. properties say they intend to reinvest the proceeds into the Canadian housing market. So where else are you hearing people going instead of the United States?
Yes. So I know a lot of Canadians have been taking the opportunity this summer to travel throughout Canada, get to explore the beautiful country, and maybe just take a break from the US just in general. Not Florida, but also Arizona, also other states. But I have a lot of friends, families, and even clients that are telling me that this year they're looking to explore, maybe go to Mexico, Dominican Republic, getting more into cruises. So it's definitely a mixture, but there's still a huge majority that are still going to see what it's like to come down to Florida.
See what I meant earlier about the bias? We keep getting comments here about Floridians saying that their neighborhoods and trailer park communities barely have any Canadian plates this year. Some have even mentioned they talked to their Canadian friends, and they flat out said they're not coming back. And it's not just chatter online. We've seen reports before from motel owners and landlords saying that they're not getting any bookings for this season. So I'm just going to sit back and watch and see what happens in December, when we hit what's supposed to be the peak snowbird season. And when those Florida reports start rolling in, you can bet I'll be covering them eagerly.
Aside from just the real estate portion, there's an entire snowboard economy that depends on Canadians coming year after year, whether it's Arizona or Florida. So what impact is it having on the larger ecosystem?
Yes, so it's going to be once again interesting to see what happens in Florida. I think my main concern is more cities that are very Canadian driven, high on tourism, such as Dania Beach, Hollywood, Hollandale, to see what is going to happen in the next 2 months. Because a lot of Canadians used to love going to Hollywood, to the boardwalk, support all the local restaurants, bars. So it's going to be interesting. And of course, there is a surplus in the condo market. So it doesn't help when you're a local US seller that's trying to sell your condo and you see that there's 50 Canadians around you trying to do the same thing. So we'll have to see what happens shortly.
So what she said, when you're a local trying to sell your property, and you look around and you see 50 Canadians doing the exact same thing, that right there tells you a lot. Now, I don't know if that number is exact or if it was just something the real estate agent threw out there, but either way, it makes a point. She's basically saying that locals trying to sell right now are competing with an overwhelming number of Canadians who are also trying to sell at the same time. Even if it's not 50, even if it's just one local for every 5 Canadians, that's still a massive hit to the local economy. Think about it. If those 5 Canadian families each spent somewhere between, say, $30,000 and $50,000, that's a huge chunk of money not going to local restaurants, bars, grocery stores, and the small leisure businesses that depend on the seasonal traffic. And if you multiply that across a few thousand properties, it's going to add up.
As you mentioned, the peak of snowboard season is still yet to come, end of November. But if you're looking ahead, Alexandra, what's your biggest concern?
My biggest concern, I think, we're all hoping it's just temporary, because at the end of the day, I am optimistic. I know Canadians love to come to South Florida. It's been a thing for decades. So right now, we just hope that it goes away maybe this season, next season. That's just short term. And Canadians do love to come into Florida. They do feel safe here. It is accessible. You can drive here, spend 4, 5, 6 months. So we're trying to be optimistic.
You can be optimistic, but I'm going to be realistic. It might have been a tradition for decades. Snowbirds heading south every winter, no questions asked. But January 20th this year changed everything for a lot of people, whether you like it or not. There's nothing in recent history that comes close to the level of damage that has been done. And for the record, it's still happening. For me, and just my opinion, all that so-called history went out the window the first time I heard the whole 51st state rhetoric and the annexation threats. Okay, maybe the second time. The first time I thought Trump was just joking. But then she mentions that people feel safe in Florida. And I just don't know how you can say that with a straight face. You have CBP giving attitude just crossing the border, charging more fees, taking fingerprints, searching your whole RV. Then you have ICE agents profiling people, sometimes detaining them just because they don't look like the agents. And on top of that, you got the MAGA supporters openly saying they don't want Canadians there, and they're not shy about it. Oh, and let's not forget the Florida open carry law. So yeah, for me, there's just way too many red flags for me to ignore. No matter how much history is between our two countries, for me it's just not worth it. So I came across this article a few days ago that caught my attention. It's about the DeSoto County in Florida, where tourism revenue is already dropping. The taxes they collect from hotels, motels, and short-term rentals has taken a noticeable hit. And if it's starting to happen before the peak snowbird season even begins, you have to wonder what the rest of the winter is going to look like. And let's not forget, there have been reports already from motels and hotels saying that the bookings from Canadians, they're just refusing to go. So this article starts off talking about how DeSoto County tourism industry is finally slowing down after having what they called a record year. Apparently, hotel tax revenue has been dropping for the last 5 months. Last 5 months, that makes sense. In May, that was probably the peak time when everybody was really starting to boycott the US. Their own economic development director even admitted they're starting to see a couple things going on. Yeah, no kidding. The county's bed tax comes from hotels, motels, short-term rentals, campsites, and RV parks. Basically everything snowbirds and travelers normally fill up during the winter season. And here's the important part. They said revenue dropped in March, April, May, June, and July compared to last year. The biggest drop? In May, down 32% year over year. It's a sharp contrast from the last several years, where Florida has been bragging about one record after another. They said from 2020 to 2024, their bed tax revenue kept climbing month after month, and 2024 hit an all-time high. But here's what they're not saying out loud. Those record numbers were inflated. Their own economic director admitted it. It was because of the hurricanes. The locals were displaced, contractors flooded in, and hotels were packed out of necessity, not tourism. This part right here is exactly why I wanted to show this to everyone. Florida can brag all they want about their record numbers and how much bed tax they already collected for last year. But to think about it, who's actually really paying these bed tax fees? It's not the Canadians. It's not international visitors. It's Floridians who were displaced from their homes because of the hurricanes. On paper, it might look good. Hotels and motels are full, and DeSantis is out there bragging, look, we got all this tax money. But that money comes from your own citizens. It completely discredits his earlier claim about having a record-breaking 2024. And what really gets me is how so many Floridians actually believe they're doing well, when in reality, it's just moving money from one pocket to another. Visit Florida then reports that they had 34.4 million people visit between April and June. 31.5 million were US citizens. Only 640,000 were Canadian. That's a 20% drop from 2024. Not a lot of new money going into the US, just money moving around internally. Then we hear from Sanjay Patel, the owner of the Oak Street Hotel in Arcadia. He says business is down by about 10 to 15% this year, mainly because fewer internationals are showing up, especially Canadians. He even mentioned one Canadian canceled after Trump's new visa rule kicked in, the one forcing visitors to register if they stay longer than 30 days. Canadians used to be exempt from that, not anymore. I wonder how many other snowbirds are not going because of this registration. So yeah, people are saying no thanks. Patel also said that Europeans aren't coming either, and those were the guests that usually fill the boutique hotels like his. After 20 years in the industry, he says he's not too worried, calls it ups and downs. But when the owner starts talking about adding event spaces just to survive, that really tells you how things are going for him. Meanwhile, DeSoto County says they're working hard to promote tourism again. They've rolled out this new Florida Wild campaign, a new website, a commercial, DeSoto County themed shirts, pens, and glasses. So basically merch from China. Okay, I really want to ask the audience this. Would a shirt and a pen convince you to go back to DeSoto County? I'm curious to see what people think about this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. They also mentioned ramping up digital ads, hoping that events like Arcadia Bike Festival will turn things around. And of course, Patel ends the article saying that he's seen worse and that things have slowed for everyone in the hotel industry. Sounds like Mr. Patel really doesn't know what the reality is right now. So let me ask you this, Mr. Patel. Have you, in your 20 years of hotel industry experience, ever experienced a time where your president pissed off an entire nation? Or quite frankly, the entire world? You may think you've seen the quote-unquote worst before. You're probably comparing it to COVID or hurricanes or any other natural disaster. Let me explain the difference between your worst-case situations and what's happening right now. Canadians couldn't come to Florida during COVID because the borders were closed. The borders are wide open right now. So tell me, why aren't we coming to your hotel? If we're talking about hurricanes, there's no hurricanes at the moment. No major travel restrictions. No closures of hotels because of damage. And yet here you are, talking about needing to diversify your revenue. So please, don't give me that bullshit excuse, I've seen worse. Because you're really out of touch with what reality is right now. Now, the last clip I wanted to show you is from a creator who's been noticing a lot more US tourism ads popping up on his YouTube. Because apparently, the YouTube tourism officials feels that throwing a few digital ads on YouTube is all it's going to take to fix the international tourism collapse. Let's take a look.
These ads are popping up on my YouTube now, sponsored on my YouTube, which means they're probably actually paying quite a lot of money to be there. A lot of money that this Visit the USA tourism sponsor seems to be paying for 800 likes. Turns out that Brand USA is launching a new tourism initiative to encourage people from overseas to visit the US. Just to show how beautiful it is. America the beautiful, yeah. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the US tourism industry is in a state of crisis at the moment. The number of people coming to the US is down because people do not feel safe. Now that it's pretty much common knowledge that if you show up in the United States as a backpacker or a tourist, there is a meaningful chance that you'll be swept up by ICE for being a foreigner. Not even taking into account the weird extra visa business fees that Trump is trying to charge people for the privilege of coming to a United States that is nowhere near as prosperous and hates them. Now, because the United States, despite its previous long-standing ethos of being a nation of immigrants, has become a place that is highly hostile to foreigners, US tourism has lost out to the tune of tens of billions of dollars, with thousands of jobs at risk. You see these extremely corny videos about how you can have any food you want out there, and you can have any experience you want out there, and look at all these white people high-fiving. Remember that in reality it is just a cry for help. Tourism industry that is bleeding under a xenophobic white supremacist administration. Go look at what's currently happening in Las Vegas. That's a really good indicator of where the US tourism industry is going. Can't hate the world and then be surprised when they hate you back. Follow for more.
This guy actually makes some pretty good videos. So if you're on TikTok, I actually recommend you give him a follow. I'll leave a link to his video in the description. Now, I wanted to ask you guys something. I've seen a few comments about this, but are any of you seeing tourism ads on my videos? Because if you are, it's pretty damn ironic. YouTube's actually placing US tourism ads on Guard the Leaf. At least we know, if those ads are showing up on my videos, they're definitely not bringing in visitors to the US. And quite frankly, if you watch them, it's just costing the US companies more money. So yeah, if you really want to hurt their budgets, watch the ads. Full disclaimer, I might get a little bit more ad revenue out of it as well, I think. Now, what's my takeaway on this video? Snowbirds. I still think they're in for a lot of pain. No matter what the media says about most of them still going. Because comments here, as well as seeing it across forums like Reddit, Facebook, show the opposite. People are done. They've sold their places, they canceled their rentals, and they're redirecting their winter plans to Mexico, Europe, and anywhere but the US. And about the Florida bed tax and hotel revenue, good luck filling those rooms and getting any kind of money you used to. This isn't COVID, and it's not a hurricane situation. This time, people just straight up don't want to come back. If you found this video helpful, hit the like and subscribe and share it so more people can see it. And if you're still here and you want to see more of my videos, check out the ones that are popping up on your screen now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.